I am Doug Friedman.
And I am Meredith Levy.
And this is Your Mental Breakdown.
The second season of our podcast.
That's right. Kicking off season 2.
Woohoo!
That cliffhanger from season 1. Who done it? Who done it?
It was Mr. Mustard with the wrench in the library.
Oh, I had the candlestick in the study.
Oh my God.
Damn it.
Wait, I heard a great joke recently. What do you call sneakers for mice?
Sneakers for mice. Squeakers?
Yes, you fucking asshole.
Really?
Yes. Jeez.
That was your joke?
You ruined it.
Wow.
Credit goes to my friend Thomas for that. Thanks. Apparently it wasn't as hard to figure out as I thought.
No.
Damn it.
But, you know, and Thomas is in 4th grade or 5th grade?
Fuck off. So you have a lot of stuff going on, don't you?
Yeah, we've been not recording for a little while.
Yep.
We haven't talked in a little while.
Yeah.
Because I've been on the road for
on the
a
road.
week. Yeah. Oh, on the road. That's wild.
How was it?
It was good and tough.
Yeah.
I think the tough part was just physically for me being in a car that long. And I stopped at several places along the way, but I'm just physically not used to sitting still for so long. And it was a little tough for that. So I just wound up putting on music and listening to a lot of music on my drive and letting my mind kind of wander to places that I previously have not let it wander to. And it was really difficult and nice to kind of go through some real emotion when you're there with only it.
Yeah.
I couldn't really distract with anything but the road, which is not very fun anyway.
No, but it's like what had to be done, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what I was looking forward to, is just being on the road with me and my thoughts. And the place I wound up, where I am now in Boulder, is pretty much in the mountains. You know, I'm not right in town. I'm pretty far away from people, which is, again, what I wanted.
Yeah.
And it's great for that. I can pop into town and see people, but in COVID times, you're not really interacting with people. So it's not like I can go down to the cafe and have a cup of coffee and read a book. So that's been my week. And a lot of those stretches were no cell service, so I couldn't talk to anybody or do anything. And strategically for me, it was the week of the election results, so I got to not really partake in the anxiety, whichever way you lean.
Right. It's really crazy. So yeah, that happened. And we still have COVID, so that's here.
We do? I thought if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
That's sort of, that's my approach for sure.
The first rule of COVID, don't talk about COVID. And what have you been doing in LA? What's new and exciting or same and boring over there?
It rained yesterday. That was tragic. It only lasted about a couple hours, if that. It wasn't bad at all. But it's like, if it's going to rain, give us a lot of rain, you know?
Right.
Now my car is just dirty, but hey.
You also don't do much of anything in the rain. Like, you don't like going anywhere.
No, I don't drive in the rain.
Right.
If it can be avoided. I've definitely driven in the rain, but I don't drive on the freeway in the rain. So there's that.
Right.
That is because I've gotten in many car accidents. And also, why, if I'm scared to drive in the rain, should I drive in the rain? That just makes me a danger on the road.
Can you passage in the rain?
Yeah.
Can you be a passenger?
I can, but if it's pouring rain, I have to like close my eyes.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if it's pouring rain, and I have to really trust the person I'm driving with. But yeah, little fun fact about me. All of my clients know, everyone I work with knows. I'm like, well, it might rain tomorrow, so we'll see if I'm here. We'll see if I come in.
Wow.
But it's fine because I can take alternate roads.
Sure. Or nowadays, you can just go remote.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get snow here tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Ooh, fun. Yeah, I also replanted my garden, and the broccoli is growing. It has gotten big, and yet if you looked at, the leaves are getting eaten so much that it basically looks like the outline of a leaf at this point, and everything else is chewed up inside it. These little fuckers are I don't know. It's little animals, and I've tried everything. If any of you listening out there have any advice for me, let me know. I'll post a picture of this and you can tell me what it is. But I have tried so many things. Somebody told me that rosemary, that a lot of animal critters don't like rosemary. So to plant it in between, I didn't go get any rosemary plants yet, but I had some rosemary in my fridge. So I sprinkled some sprigs around there, hoping maybe it would help. Hasn't helped so far.
Oh my gosh.
But we'll see.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
It's a far cry from rosemary. I've told you this, I think recently, in fact. Years ago, we had coyotes camped out in our front yard.
Yeah.
They were just living like in some bushes. We kind of have a big native scene in the front yard. And somebody said, oh, you need to get wolf repellent, like some spray. And I looked into it, or it's not wolf, coyote repellent spray.
Okay.
And I looked into it, and coyote repellent spray is pretty much wolf urine. So you spray wolf urine around where the coyotes are, and it will scare them off because they sense a predator is going to be there.
Wow.
So the day that I went online and ordered a thing of wolf spray to spray on there, Franklin, my old dog, took a giant dump in the front yard right where the coyotes had been, right? Which he never did. Like he never goes in the front yard to do that. It literally was like, yo, Dad, I got this. Let me take care of this.
He just knew.
Yep, he knew. You don't need no wolf spray. I got this. I got you.
Oh my God.
Coyotes never camped out there again.
It's a great dog. Great dog.
He was a fantastic dog. If he were still around, I would let him take a dump next to your broccoli for you.
All right. Thank you. Another amazing thing that's happening as we speak is I am really trying to expand the cooking.
Oh,
so yeah. I am currently attempting to make carnitas. Right?
Yeah.
I put a pork shoulder. And if any of you know what that is, it is another word for pork butt.
What?
Yeah, indeed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was the actual shoulder. It's not the shoulder, it's the butt?
Yep.
Why don't they say pork butt?
I don't know, because it sounds not as appealing.
Really?
Maybe. Who knows? I'm not sure. But yeah, so I put that in there and I chopped up onions and that made my eyes cry. And then jalapenos. Oh. And I had to take the seeds out. And then I was like, how do you actually take it was a whole thing. So anyway, it's cooking in the crock pot right now. And I wish I could smell it. I feel like it's not actually doing anything until I can smell it. But anyway, carnitas, I'll let you guys know how they turn out. And
what about when you took the seeds out of the jalapenos? Did you wash your hands very carefully afterwards?
Oh, I sure did. Sure did. I knew that was just an accident waiting to happen. And you know what they say? They say, I've heard that if you chew gum while you cut onions, that your eyes don't cry. And for some reason, I just didn't. I thought to myself, should I put gum in my mouth? And then I didn't for some dumb reason. And then my eyes were crying and I was sad.
I've heard several things and I've never heard something. I've heard you can put a piece of bread in your mouth.
Yeah.
I've heard you can cut the onion underwater.
Oh.
And like, oh, that's interesting. Those two things, I've never tried those two things. I don't really have that problem with onions much. I used to, but I've never heard somebody say my eyes were crying. I've heard people say my eyes were watering or my eyes were tearing. I've never heard that. That's pretty cool. I like being able to use that. Like, oh yeah, I got pretty emotional on my road trip listening to music and I wasn't crying, but my eyes were crying. I had no control over it, you know?
I'm just a 4-year-old. So, hey.
Yeah, my nose was running. My eyes were crying. Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Can't even believe we even talked about this. This should have been the first thing we talked about. Daylight savings ended. You guys know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I thought it was going to be different this year. I thought I was going to be excited because with the pandemic, it's like there's so very little to do once the sun goes down. But before, when it was getting dark at 8, I felt like I had too much time.
Right.
Like I was like, it's still sunny out. What am I doing? It's 7 o'clock. Like I can't get in bed yet. So overnight it switches to 5 o'clock. And now I'm like, well, great. Now it's 5 o'clock and dark. What am I going to do?
Right.
Get in bed? Like I can't go do anything. I can't even go on a walk because you would think, I know most people can, but I don't want to go walk when it's dark. It's just not safe. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So daylight savings, we are now, the sun is currently setting. Let me look it up here for you guys. The sun is currently setting at 4:54. Oh, yay.
Wow. I had your nightmare experience.
What?
I was driving and I simultaneously crossed from Pacific time zone to Mountain time zone and daylight savings time. Not at the same time. That would have been like Sunday at 2 a.m. I wasn't driving then.
Okay.
But it was like I experienced the darker earlier and it was an hour later. So I got the double whammy.
No way.
A day later, it was raining on the road too.
Holy crap.
You would have stopped driving.
Yeah.
You would have like,
oh yeah, of course.
I'm done.
Of course I would have. Don't be crazy.
Right.
So anyway, it's been a long time, Dougie. We haven't even talked at all this week. So, I mean, a little bit here and there. You did send me some pretty photos. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Stars. Were there a ton of stars last night?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I saw Clooney and there was Clooney and Dwayne Johnson.
Oh my God, dude. Don't
Kevin
fuck
Hart.
around with stars. You're such a dork.
The stars were, oh my gosh, it was insane.
Really?
The place in southern Utah on the lake where I was far removed from everything. That was looking up you could see I don't know what they call it, the fog of the Milky Way, when you see the milkiness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was incredible. And out here is same thing. I mean, you look up and you just go, oh, right. That's how it's supposed to look.
Right.
That's how it looks in the movies and on the videos, at astronomy camp.
But does it look like that where you are?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. There's behind this house, there's a little like deck area and there's, I think, Christmas lights around it that you can turn on if you want to. But if you cut them off, you can be out there and it's like you're floating in the middle of a mountain and just looking up at these stars. So
I want to float in a mountain.
Right?
Yes.
I've got my dog, a candle, and a guitar, and that's going to be my evening, one of these evenings when it's 20 degrees outside.
So, okay, let's tell these people.
I guess a quick recap. We wrapped up season 1, which was the first 6 months of Drew's therapy with me. Let's see, what were the highlights or lowlights, Meredith?
Well, so Drew, 24, he came to Doug to work on a variety of stuff. And he had relationship issues, family stuff. Saw his mom OD a couple times. What else?
He was having frequent night terrors when we first started.
Right.
Some work stuff. He was in the fashion industry, still is, but wanted to make a career transition. He was in a relationship that was not a great one for him at the time. So he ended that relationship. And he was looking at his brother getting married, and he'd been estranged from brother for nearly a decade. And they started talking. He chose not to go to the bachelor party,
right?
But had talked to his brother about that and to his parents about that. And then what we're looking at now is the wedding is right around the corner as we start season 2. So you will hear whether or not he goes and what it's like and the aftermath of it, all that stuff. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Not all in this session, but in the coming weeks. So
yeah,
you'll get some of that and we'll keep processing what we're processing. It's something that I've heard from a lot of clients and colleagues that some people ask if they should be coming in every other week sometimes and kind of go, well, I don't really have that much going on this week.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That happens a lot. And for us as therapists, there doesn't have to be a crisis of the week that you come with.
Right.
It can be cool. You don't have anything, but as we just talk about whatever we're talking about, we can dive into something that we've been working on for a while, and you can actually go deeper and look at more pattern things and things that aren't just putting out fires, but are those deeper things that have been there all along. Right?
Yes. And sometimes things just come up. So you may walk into a session and just be like, oh, I don't have anything specific to talk about. And stuff just comes up. If you are consistently session after session thinking, I'm literally getting nothing done here, I have nothing to talk about, well, that's different. Then take a look at that. Right. But you don't have to plan what to talk about when you come in.
Right. Exactly. I love when clients come in and say, man, I have no idea what to talk about. Like usually I use the well, it would have been the drive over to your office to come up with what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, great. And then we just start, shooting the shit and talking about, the weather and the snow that's coming in Boulder or, the election, whatever it is. And I can almost guarantee that will get us to something.
Yeah.
And then we're digging into something.
Totally.
So
I concur.
Don't worry about coming prepared to your therapy session or having something that has to have happened that week for it to be interesting.
So listen to
what Drew brings in.
First session, season 2, Drew and Doug. We will get back with you after.
Away we go. We were talking about brother. Like, what's that going to be like?
Yeah. And it's funny you bring up my brother because like that was, it's been a big topic for me this week with me and mom. Just because, it is a month and a half away. My mom's always been, let me buy you something to make you happy, to make you want to go. And so that's been the conversation this week of, hey, here's some money, go buy some clothes, go do what you need to do to kind of get ready for it, which half of me loves. And I love shopping. I love buying things. It makes me feel good.
Sure.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
But the other half of me is taking like a pause and being like, hold up, can I go to this wedding without any new clothes? Yeah, definitely. Like no problem.
Right.
I think this is a different subject than my brother, but it's, I'm trying to tie the two together because it's situationally happening in his wedding.
Well, let's not tie it together for a second so we can look at them independently. And then we've been doing this long enough. Yeah. It wraps in together. We'll tie it together, but separate them for a minute instead of forcing it together and just look at it for what it is.
I think my hesitation with that conversation with my mom now brings up the fear of almost like going back to when I was a kid, of she would buy me stuff so that would give her an excuse to get fucked up. Oh, well, she bought me this. Well, we're good then. So now I'm kind of bringing that into this where it's like she's trying to go get me to my happy place to get me to want to go down there when I've already had the conversation with her that I genuinely want to go. Like I genuinely want to go to this. I think it's important and I'm excited for it, but I don't need that aspect of everything. I think that kind of adds like a weight of pressure to me in like a guilt way. Like I almost feel like I'm being bought to go.
Yeah. I'll just throw something out there and I want you to comment on it and see how it feels.
Yeah.
That idea of, I don't need that. I've outgrown it. I'm more independent now. Maybe I don't need my mom in that way.
I agree with it. And I think my 50-50 on this is I still want it. And I think that's what I'm figuring out over these last couple of weeks of like, what do I want? And what am I being bribed to get?
Can you not need it and want it?
Yeah.
And can that be okay?
Yeah.
And how is that okay? Because it, in effect, puts you and your mom in the dynamic that you've been in for a long time. She would get me something to justify some of her behavior.
Right.
And the guilt going, well, she got it for me, so now I need to do this. And maybe a little bit of guilt or shame or both of, oh, I don't want to condone her behavior. But if we separate it and go, wait, that's her life. If that's what she needs and that's what she's doing, that's hers. Yeah. And I'm independent from that now, as opposed to codependent and her well-being is tied to me. And if she's not doing well, I did something wrong.
Yeah, I think getting older and as we're progressing in all this, I'm realizing that everything she's doing doesn't have to do with me. And even in this situation, like, it doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not in that circle of what she's doing. It's just I'm a byproduct of it. And I guess why I'm bringing all this up is to tie brother back into this. I don't want any perception of me there to be a bot perception.
Because mom did this for me, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I want to go in a genuine, vulnerable, I'm here because I want to be, not, hey, look at what I just got type of thing.
It's, I think, strengthening both of those aspects. The one aspect being, I know why I am going. And that's where I'm coming from, that vulnerability, that wanting to do the right thing by my standards of right, which is, I want a relationship in 10 years. I want to be at the wedding. I actually want a relationship with my brother. That's the strength and why you're going. And that means something to you. And I've heard you say a few times, I don't really want to go. You know, each time you're smiling now. Okay, why?
I think that's the funny part of this, because it had nothing to do with me. All the reasons why I didn't want to go had to do with somebody else or for somebody else. And I think it's a codependency thing in all of this. And I think I was very afraid to go there alone. And now that I'm understanding more and more so that it's okay to be I heard somebody say it's okay to be alone. It's not okay to be lonely. That's the difference. And so I'm figuring out it's okay to be alone by myself, do my own thing for me, which is where my head is now going into this. Whereas back then I was like, well, is she going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? My parents going to be okay?
Right.
Trying to make everybody okay.
Yep. I love this track that you're on. I think it's absolutely right. You're nailing something. Yeah. Good insight. It's going to take experiencing it to know if it is truly okay to be alone and not lonely. And I wonder if an extension of that is it okay to be not a part of that group over there, which will mean I'm either alone or feeling lonely.
Yeah, I got anxious picturing that, especially at my brother's wedding.
Yep.
Because everybody's together having a good time and I'm out there by myself.
Yep.
That makes me feel super anxious.
Yep.
I don't know what I would do in that situation. I just feel anxious.
As you sit here now, do you feel anxiety just building a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
I love that. It's funny how a lot of times in therapy we can reduce anxiety. I'm like, yeah, we can also bring it up too.
Yeah.
And that means it's something we can control. I mean, we can walk through it in a way that will get you super anxious. Don't worry, we're not going to do that. But just bringing it up and talking about that discomfort, that's how we go to it and then through it.
Yeah.
That's the double down, not shut down. That's the let me bring this in. Because we have talked about this in terms of what makes you uncomfortable. I might not fit in with that group. I might be the outsider. I might be alone and lonely in this.
We've talked about me showing up as myself and doing who I want to be and what I want to do, but I also want to respect it in that sense.
Sure.
Basically, going in a vulnerable way as myself.
You feeling comfortable is if I go there and I don't fit in and I'm not a part of that group. Is that on them or on you?
Realistically, it's on them. How I would feel would probably be on me, though.
Absolutely, 100%. So the way we strengthen that is to go, wait, how do I feel? Okay, I'm not going to be an El Paso guy.
Yeah.
Can I be an LA guy and gel with the El Paso guys? Can we come together with differences? Or do I have to be same? And there's something about a sense of authenticity that if you can bring that, I'm just me. I'm not going to be disrespectful.
Right.
I'll wear a suit. I don't know if I'll wear a bolo tie. I'll do what I got to do.
Put on my boots.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it with a little bit of my flair and my style and still be respectful. And that's not conforming to them. It's still being you and being respectful of them. And just meeting them kind of halfway, meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
And if they go, oh, he's different, we're not going to include it, that is on them.
Right.
If it affects you, that is on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah, yeah. I think the other bigger picture with this clothing money situation conversation, when my mom was down here, probably last year, that was when she came down and she was all fucked up and it wasn't good. We were out, we were shopping, we were hanging out, and I kind of had that same feeling of oh, something's off, she's fucked up, what's going on? Why is she trying to buy me all this stuff, all of a sudden out of nowhere? And then kind of when I was talking to her on the phone the other day, she kind of sounded fucked up too. I think this is all more so a red flag to me of what's happened prior than taking it for actually what it is right now.
Which is what?
I think she's genuinely just trying to help me, be comfortable. And I'm also feeling I'm taking it the wrong way because of everything that's happened. It's a defense mechanism on my part too, trying to figure out where she's at. Because it is that time of year and I know where she's at and I know what's going on. And me and my dad have been talking about the last couple of weeks. So I know she's struggling. And so it's that's my fear in all of this.
What's the most vulnerable, transparent thing you could say? If we're practicing it here. I'm not saying say it to her.
Yeah.
That you could say to her. What would it sound like?
Yeah, I would just ask her if she's okay. That's the most vulnerable I could be with her.
Okay. you and me talking here, not about her.
Right.
What's the most vulnerable thing you can say about what's going on for you that you would express?
Well, it's different because I can tell her how I feel because I don't know how she feels. I tell her I'm scared and like I've been here before and like, I don't want to do it again and I want the best for her and she deserves a lot better than what she's doing.
Now that part's about her.
Yeah.
But you were on the right track to start. Scared. Been down here before.
Yeah.
Don't want to be here.
Yeah. And I'm not okay when this happens. I'll tell her something like that.
Yeah. Why not? What happens to you?
It's all my defense walls go up and I'm not able to be like vulnerable and I can't be authentic the way I want to be. And I start going down a path of more walls and putting pictures up versus actually like dealing with my shit.
Yeah. I like that we're walking through it this way.
Yeah.
Because we're making it about you, not about her. It's not about, can I take care of her?
Yeah.
You can't.
Right.
You can't. It's not your job. And even if it were, you're not able to. She's her own person. And that is scary and it sucks. And it's sometimes embarrassing and shameful and frustrating, and disappointing. It really is all of those things.
Yeah.
And we can't change her. And our well-being is actually not dependent on her.
Right.
It can be affected by her. And I think it's important to recognize that, to notice that.
Yeah.
Which is what you're getting closer to doing. I feel scared when we hit this dynamic, when I hear this from you. I see a red flag and I'm worried. And from this scared, worried place, it's hard for me to be authentic. And my defenses go up and it's hard for me to be vulnerable. And from this place where my defenses are up and I'm not that vulnerable, not that authentic, I don't want to fall into that same rut of I will take, whatever you're offering, go buy something and get that instant gratification and feel better for a moment.
Yeah, because and with that, I think that's exactly what it is. It's instant gratification. And I think it's a Band-Aid to get me to the next time, the next time, the next time, the next time. And I would way rather fix it long-term and start now than continue this Band-Aid program we got going on. Because it's just not working.
No.
And I found with all of this, I suck at spending money because I just think it's nothing.
But it means something different.
Yeah.
It's wrapped up. It's got all this emotional stuff in it.
Which is why I buy people so much shit. And it's like, why am I doing it?
Why are you doing it?
Because I think that's how I was showed love. And so I'm trying to show it however I know how.
Yeah. And with that piece, we got to remember to have understanding and compassion.
Yeah.
We get into trouble when we go, because that's what I was shown. Fuck, but I don't want to do that. Why am I still doing that? I got to stop that. Like, oh, take it easy. That's what I've known.
Yeah.
Well, fuck them for doing it to me that way.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? How come they did? They were just doing what they knew. And they have their own shit to deal with.
Right.
Their own issues, clearly. So they were just managing their best.
Yeah, it's crazy. I always kind of figured I was just a young kid that didn't understand money. I think there's an aspect to that. I definitely do. Because school-wise, we didn't have money classes. Nobody taught me to do my taxes, And so it's like, like half of that, I can't blame all on my upbringing and everything I've done. But it's definitely a realization point for me where it's like, oh, okay, maybe pump the brakes and all that for a minute. But even with old girlfriend, the day one from us dating, if we're together, don't worry about ever buying anything because that's my job. So even in our relationship, she never paid for food. She didn't buy anything, no trips or nothing.
Right.
It's not like I could. It's like I was just sitting there with loads of cash to go blow on everything.
Because you were choosing to do that?
I don't even know if it's a choice.
Yeah.
I don't even know at that point I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I overwhelmingly felt like I had to.
Yeah.
And that's the part where it's I don't know why.
It gets twisted and question choice. It wasn't purely obligation because that's what I do. It was, but I'm choosing to because that's what I know to do, but it feels like an obligation. Wait, fuck, which is it? Because I haven't learned different.
Yeah.
I haven't learned what it would be like to date somebody where we go, yeah, here's our money. Here's what we can do. Here's where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm capable of right now.
And that makes me super anxious, even having that conversation with somebody.
Even though my old girlfriend told me, I think day one, we make the same amount because we have the same job at the same company.
Well, she knew how much money I made week to week, but she didn't know how much money I had.
Totally.
I think perception-wise, not knowing me, put myself in her shoes for just a second, I think she perceived me a certain way, not as a kid that has $17 to his name.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I carry myself a certain way. I know I do. And I dress a certain way. And I understand what comes with all of that.
Right.
And so I almost felt like I had to maintain that level of, I never lied to her. I never told her I had money. I never told her I was rich, but I never told her honestly where I was at.
There you go.
And I don't know what it looks like.
Exactly. You don't know what it looks like because you haven't done that yet. It's new. It's different. It's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's the unknown, which is scary until it starts becoming known.
Yeah, and like I've been practicing already, like telling like my homeboys, like my homeboys, like, yeah, dude, I'm broke as shit. Getting it out there, I'm okay. You know, It's not like I'm gonna get evicted next month. Like I'm fine. But on the other level, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not 100,000aire. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm trying to balance it out to where it's like I'm staying in my lane again and not jumping around trying to be in other people's lanes.
Yeah, it's called living within your means.
Yeah, I get told that a lot. I think my emotional spending is getting kind of out of hand. I don't think it's because I just want to go blow my money. You know, I don't think that's why I'm doing it.
Well, you said something earlier that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm using your words for it. Mm-hmm. You know, the Band-Aids and instant gratification. That one was mine. Right? But in a sense, the Band-Aid is the instant gratification, right? Yeah. When I'm feeling a little out of sorts, not comfortable, when I'm dysregulated, when I'm anxious, I'll buy something, I'll feel better. It'll be that shiny new thing over there, right? Or something that just makes me feel good for a minute. Yeah. That's instant gratification. It's putting a Band-Aid on something. Yeah. That's what historically your mom has done with you, with spending, as you've said, most of your life. Right. And we know it doesn't work. And we're scared to have the Band-Aid ripped off or even gently pulled off. Both of them kind of hurt. Right? But we need to tend to the actual wound. I'm thinking of things like school, separation anxiety, her attempts in your early teenage years. Yeah. And anytime you go back, making sure she's okay, the red flag of she sounds like she's fucked up. Yeah. Anything that she gives you to this point to make you feel better will make you feel better in the moment. Yeah. Well, and I also get like super sentimental to whatever she gives me because it's always like that last thing. Like, what if this is the last thing she gives me? And that's translated into other avenues of like other people giving me stuff. And it's weird because I literally get so like my this was way, and maybe this doesn't have to do with my mom. And I think about this. So my great grandpa, who I was named after, he passed away when I was a kid. I met him like one time. And so my dad drove down, picked up his van. We drove the red van probably for the next 3 years. Me and my dad just bopping around town, doing our thing. And like, it was a minivan, nothing cool. Yeah. It was just a Pontiac, Montana. And then one day he came up and he was like, yo, I sold the van. And I remember this, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I had a complete meltdown, like didn't come to my room for like 3 days. Like, how could you do that? Like, that was our van. Like, that was who I was named after, like all that kind of thing. Yeah. And I find that same feeling in everything most people give me. Get so sentimental, like, oh, I'll never lose it. Thank you so much. Like, freaking out over it when I know that's not a rational response. Maybe not rational, but it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it does. Like, I get it. Yeah. But it's not where I want to be. Where do you want to be? I want to be more even-keeled. I want to live more open-handedly because things come and go. That's true. Yeah. So what does the even-keel mean? Yeah, and I think I want to bring up what you said in the beginning of this, where you said it was okay to be excited. Yeah. And I think even-keel for me right now is understanding that it's okay to be excited and it's okay to be disappointed. It's feeling both of those things. Either at the same time or at different times. And that idea, it's more taking events in life as they come for what they are. If we can do that and we can tolerate being present for that particular thing, it's never that bad or that weighty as we make it out in our heads based on past experience and pulling it all in. Because anytime anybody gets rid of something, will bring you back to Pontiac, Montana, and everything that's ever been taken away from you without you knowing that. And it's carrying so much weight.
Yeah.
I think the even keel is going, oh, what if this didn't have any weight? It just was. Doesn't mean it's, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that really bums me out. Yeah? Yeah, I love that van. I love riding around with you. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I will get through that.
Yeah.
But today I'm sad.
Yeah.
The idea is that we are constantly evolving, I hope.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be coming here.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, right.
It's about our personal growth and our evolution and elevation in life. And some of that involves looking at older versions of ourselves. Will need to leave to make room for the newer versions. And that some versions are going to have to, in a sense, die off. Like the Pontiac, Montana.
Yeah.
With that, we might outgrow some things.
Right.
Because my old self was fine getting these Band-Aids, was fine getting these gifts. And I like that instant gratification because that made it okay. When I can tolerate those emotions, when I have new versions of self that can do this, I don't need those Band-Aids anymore.
I also think I Band-Aided my last relationship because I broke up with one girlfriend and then next week got another one. So I'm going to put a Band-Aid on that one.
Right.
Brother, same with my other homeboy, threw a Band-Aid on that one, threw a lot of Band-Aids on a lot of stuff in my life. And I think in the last year, maybe condense that down to the last 3 months, I'm realizing that, which is cool. It's a cool realization to be able to be like, okay, let me take a step back and kind of dissect where my life's at. Who do I want to be? Where do I want my future to be? Where do I want that next evolutionary picture to be?
Right.
And then kind of in that spot versus the opposite of I'm just being okay with where I'm at. And it's been really good and really eye-opening. It's just, like I said, realizing kind of where I have faults. Because everybody does, and I get that. And I'm never going to be perfect, a shocker. Kind of coming more into terms of what's going to make me better as a person and what's going to allow me to help more people in the long run. I think that's kind of where my focus is right now.
I'll add to that and have more enjoyment out of this life too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because
it will be more authentic. It's really weird. That whole the truth shall set you free and all those kinds of cliches, right? Yeah, when you actually have that authenticity and you could be that anywhere, oh my gosh, it makes it so much easier to be.
Yeah.
And we're so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, why wasn't I doing this before? Because we didn't know. We learned different. We learned how to fit in, how to get by, how to do things. Yeah. It was necessary. And then those old versions of self can die off while I discover the new version. That is what you're coming to more and more.
Yeah.
Part of that is, oh, right, I don't need these Band-Aids. So when mom says, well, I'll get you some new clothes so you can come to, I'm well, hang on. Actually, I really want to go, so I'm going anyway. If I want or need some new clothes in order to kind of look good and look El Paso style, cool. And then maybe we can talk about specifically what I would need. And if you want to get that for me, thank you. That sidesteps the part where, wait, I'm hearing a red flag and I'm feeling uncomfortable. There's two different pieces to that. You can hit each of them. You can hit them at the same time. You can hit neither of them and just have the awareness for yourself and going easy on yourself because it is learning different. Even some of the things that you've said about we left dad largely out of this. Right? Yeah. He's a big fat Band-Aid for you.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And a big piece of that is, oh, good. That's my safety net. He's got my back. Cool. All right, he's my best friend. Yes, I want him involved. I want him a partner. I want him to do that. Because I'm scared to do it alone.
Yeah, and the other is I'm finding a lot more pride in myself versus finding it elsewhere, which is kind of what we talked about last week.
I was just going to say, you said that last week. You were proud of you.
Yeah, which is, I think that's going through all this and kind of experiencing this whole thing, that's been the biggest thing that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I love that because I think part of what we're gearing up for has nothing to do with the wedding or your family. It's all you. I think there is something really cool about having it exist out there because you get to show up as you and go, here I am. And I'm not here to announce me and show everybody me.
Yeah.
I'm here to be a part of this thing and connect with these people. And okay. And here I am.
Yeah.
It's cool. And that's independent of mom, dad, brother, yet you can still have moments with each of them. You can still repair with brother to a degree. What you said about it a while ago was, look, I know I can just be like, hey man, there's a bigger conversation that I want to have at some point. I want to have that with you, but right now, just want to be here. Cool with that.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's coming a lot quicker than I thought it would.
I kind of like that you're now thinking like, oh wait, what am I going to wear? How do I want to present myself? Because you're presenting a snapshot they haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's cool.
And I mean, that might be something you talk to brother about.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, stoked to be out for your wedding and see everybody. And I just want to know like what people are wearing, because I don't want to show up full LA fashion guy and freak everybody out.
Well, and then we could just have a conversation too.
Yeah. I could see you going for the Band-Aid where you have that conversation, probably with dad.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to wear? Okay, well, I'll just wear the mini me version of what you're wearing. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe with mom in terms of, well, yeah, I need to buy boots. I need to get this. And you got to get me that. Cliche therapist time. It's the conversation you have with yourself first.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Finding that way to be you and not have any extra on it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, mom wants to buy me this. Mom, well, what do you want? Figure that out first.
And like, that's the exciting part, though, because I have no idea what I want. And I'm figuring it out more and more so every day. It's getting a little bit easier to be like, oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
There's a strength that I hear building.
Yeah.
And it's building. It's not like it's going to be out. There it is. Yeah, now I'm strong. But it's building constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
It feels a lot stronger than it did 6 months ago, a year ago, 10 years ago.
We haven't even walked through some things like, oh, yeah, I've been smoking weed for 10 years. Oh, yeah, 10. Stop talking to my brother.
Yeah.
Okay. But these are, as you'll see, Band-Aids that you needed at the time because you were bleeding and you didn't have any way to heal the wounds and tend to the wounds.
Right.
And no one was going, oh, it looks like you're bleeding. Hang on a sec. Let's pause. Right? That's the okay with being disciplined. You had not yet learned and still have not yet experienced enough of, oh, you can be sad in this moment and that's okay.
Yeah.
You can be excited in this moment. The other shoe is not going to drop and take it away.
Yeah.
That's the even keel.
Exactly. And I'm glad we talked about even keel today, because that was a better understanding for myself of what even keel really means.
Yeah.
For me.
So
we are back with you.
We're back. So exciting. I mean, so much. I'm just like, I haven't heard any of this stuff, and I'm so excited to see what's happening. And 6 weeks until his brother's wedding.
It's coming
down.
Up. It's right there.
So exciting. And, so interesting. That whole first part, a big part of this session was talking about both the content and the process, though, of his mom offering to buy him clothes before the wedding, right?
Yeah.
So, at first in my mind, I'm like, get it, go, let her take you shopping. Yeah. Cause I know, cause I know he loves clothes. Right.
Sure.
And he said it was sort of something to buy him something to make him happy. And you had him pause or he said, well, can I go to the wedding without new clothes? Of course I can. 100%. I don't need to get new clothes to go to the wedding. And then connected it to his childhood. His mom would buy him stuff to make up for being loaded all the time.
Which is common.
It's not uncommon. You're right.
Right. Maybe not the loaded part, but the buying people thing. I mean, it's the total cliche of the boyfriend buying flowers for the girlfriend, or I mean, it could be any gender.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Could be the girlfriend buying flowers for the girlfriend or whatever. When they did something wrong or they messed up, they'll buy jewelry or they'll buy flowers. Like, it doesn't take away the thing. I think it's more impactful to buy kids something or buy flowers or gifts when it's not making up for some negative feelings or hard feelings that somebody had.
Sure.
And that's...
And at the same time, I say there was some of that in my life for sure growing up, and it would bother me. And in hindsight, now I'm like, well, the thing happened. Can't change that. Okay, buy me presents. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going to only get one or both, if you're going to be fucked up and then try to buy me something after, buy it for me. I'm not, it doesn't make it better for you. I'm not going to be any happier with you, but at least now I have a present.
Right. I think, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at is getting them to feel better so they don't have to have the hard feelings and they don't have to process it and they don't have to talk about it.
Right. That's what they're trying to do. But if I could turn back time, I would understand that I can still do all those things and keep the present.
Yeah. And I think that sort of the thinking might be in the perfect world that I could design. If you can have those hard feelings and you can talk about them and process them, both parent and child, then you go get the ice cream after having that talk.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get ice cream to make it all better, make it go away.
Right.
It's do that thing first.
Unless you fell down and you have a boo-boo, then it's okay.
Sure. I remember when we were young, my parents got divorced when I was like 2.5, and my dad would pick us up every other weekend. And when we were, I guess, old enough, the first place we would go is McDonald's. I've even talked about this on here. I used to get, right? Fries, dip them in the shake and a Coke and 2 Big Macs.
Yeah.
That was my thing, right? And it was like great. We get junk food and we get to do, and dad does all this stuff for us. And like, we get all that. I don't know if that was so he could be the fun dad.
Right.
And we wouldn't, and we'd associate fun time with him.
Right.
Ironically, maybe what we associate is junk food and unhealthy eating with him.
Right.
Who's now overweight and diabetic. And okay, so there it is.
Right.
But I don't know. I think what he, Drew, realized in this was also that all this stuff that she's doing, whether it's buying me stuff or ODing and all that, it had nothing to do with him.
Right.
And when he realized that, it released him from that.
Right.
And
what he did say also, which was that he genuinely wants to go to the wedding already. He doesn't need to be bought. And he is more independent now. He doesn't need it and he wants it. Right. Which is I don't need my mom to buy me stuff, but I want it. He said it seemed like she was fucked up on the phone that day.
Right.
And he said, well, I don't know. Am I reading into it because of the past or was she really? And TBD, what happens at the actual wedding with that, right?
Right. And that's something, we were talking also about anxiety. I think later in the session, we were talking a lot about anxiety and about how I think one thing that always surprises clients is that you can, in session, we can reduce anxiety, like when it comes up, like, oh my God, I'm freaking out right now. Like, okay, well, what is it? We can also, in a sense, induce anxiety. Not that we want to induce it, but we can, replicate it coming up and like that, what it brings up. We can do it in a way where you don't get super anxious. You just start realizing the anxiety is coming up,
right.
And then we get to process it there.
Yeah, it's like some exposure therapy, right? Like it can be helpful in that way.
Yep. That's the double down, don't shut down.
Yeah.
That's the, no, don't buy me stuff and shut this down.
Right.
It's coming up. I want to deal with this. How do I deal with this now?
Right.
For him, and that goes back, he said it early on in the session, I think, when he was saying, oh, I don't need clothes. He needs clothes.
Yeah.
I don't need new clothes to go. I just want to show up as me. All the reasons that he didn't want to go had to do with somebody else or something else happening.
Exactly.
It wasn't about him.
Yeah, he did. Made me laugh so hard when, I don't know if you or him said it, but it was like the El Paso guy versus the LA guy. And It was so funny. He just talked about he's his own person and whatever their attitude or behavior is towards him, it's on them. And how he feels about it is on him. And I just pictured, and I think one of you said like a bolo tie or something.
Yeah. We were joking about like, you're not going to go out and get your boots and put on a bolo tie, right? Just to fit in.
No, but can we have a photo of him at the wedding with like the face blurred or just his head cut off? Because I just really want to know what he wears. Drew, cut your head off and send us a photo.
If he goes.
Oh, don't you dare. Oh my God. What? Okay, fine. Yeah. And he talked about that his well-being, I liked how he said this, that his well-being isn't dependent on her. It's affected by her.
Yeah. Right.
So I like that a lot, that he can be fine or not fine, but it doesn't depend on her. It just affects him.
Yeah. And that's, and I was drilling him a little bit about how can you say something vulnerably? And I think at first everything that he wanted to say was about her. Like, are you okay? I'm worried about you. Like, oh, well, what's the vulnerability? And it would be, I'm worried. And I think he even said, I'm scared. When he goes, I'm scared because I'm worried about you and I want what's best for you. I'm like, that was still about her. And coming back to what was happening for him, that was feeling scared, getting defended, going back to, old patterns. And I think for him, it might've been like, yeah, let me just get high, or let me just do something and become this guy that just takes care of everything and for everybody, but doesn't take care of myself. And that's where he realized, yeah, I really just want to show up as myself and be there and be me.
Yeah. And he talked about the idea that the instant gratification, feeling better for a moment, taking the clothes, it's a similar feeling to the instant gratification of drugs, right?
Yep.
And he talks about, and I so can relate to him, he talks about spending money and he buys people to show them love. And I think it's, for me, that's not independent of other ways that I show love, but I like to buy little things or do little things or big, little, whatever, but gifts that, I don't know. I just think it's so nice sometimes. It can be something so little. Oh, I thought of you. This reminded me of you, or just anything. And I don't think it's, again, I'm not trying to buy someone's love, but I am trying to let them know that, like, I thought about them, or I know them well, or I like seeing someone smile, that kind of thing.
Right. And again, I think there's nothing wrong with doing nice things for people.
Right.
It makes us feel nice. It makes them feel nice. That's a good thing. It's when you're doing it at the, I don't know, detriment of yourself, or if that's the only way I can show love, if that's the only way I can get people to like me is by giving them gifts or doing things, then that's a tough one.
Right. And he talked about spending way more money than he has, and that's always been a thing for him. And I can't remember if either you said it or I just wrote it down. It's called Living Within Your Means.
Yeah. I said that.
Like,
he said, right. I said that to him, and I think he said, oh yeah, I've heard that a bunch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But he said something that I thought was pretty cool and pretty self-aware. He said, I think my emotional spending has just gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
And that's something that it wasn't just blowing his mind. Like, he never learned money well. Like, he didn't learn how to do taxes, didn't learn stuff. And it's that what you're talking about, Meredith, the instant gratification.
Yeah.
That for him is emotional spending. I feel bad if I buy something and spend money, I'll feel better. So let me do that.
Right.
It might be fleeting, but at least I don't feel bad in the moment anymore.
Yeah.
And he's recognizing, like, oh yeah, that's getting out of control. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. And he never even acknowledged to his ex that he didn't have money. He would pay for everything, and then he finally said, I'm all right. I'm fine now telling my homies I'm fucking broke. Like, all right, that's the way it is until I make more money. But with her, he just basically pretended it was all okay and shelled out money,
Right.
Being authentic, I think, is important. I get that it doesn't feel good a lot of times, no matter what, being authentic or not, to just say, man, I can't go there. I can't do this because I can't afford it. It's not fun. And yet it's honest.
Yeah. That was a big part of my high school experience. I mean, I couldn't keep up with my friends. And I think when I finally said to a couple of my good friends, like, yeah, man, I can't go out. I don't have the money. Two of them in particular, I can shout out Barry and Noah as two of my friends that very much were like, don't worry, I got you.
Exactly.
I got you. Because they would rather have me there with them than not have me there because I couldn't afford it. And they were fortunate enough to be able to pay.
Not a pity thing.
Not a pity thing. No.
And it's also what comes around goes around, You're very kind and generous and helpful with so many people. So
oh, thank you.
Pay it forward.
I am now. I wasn't always.
No, I know.
Right. You're like, yeah, I know you were a dick. Not really, but I lived in a scarcity mentality. It's what I learned.
Yeah.
Similar to Drew. Like, you spend when you can spend, and then when you don't, it's feast or famine.
Yeah.
When I have it, I have it. When I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
And when I do, I want to share it with people. I want to buy people things. I want to do things. I want to go out. And then, when I don't, like, oh crap, I'm on complete shutdown.
Yeah. At one point, I can't remember what it was connected to, but you said it's okay to be alone and not lonely. Also, it's okay to be lonely. And you know me and my emotions.
Yep.
That's all okay. It's okay to have all of those things. And, feeling lonely isn't necessarily the most fun thing. And also it can be very motivating. You can connect with yourself and learn new things about yourself, or it can motivate you to go out and meet other people. And sometimes it just is.
Right. And I think, what I was saying to him, and I've said it before, you and I have talked about it. You and I have talked about it off the podcast a lot too, where being alone is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We come into the world alone. We go out of the world alone. In between, we get to do all sorts of things.
Right.
But it's that alone, that solitude, that independence. That's wonderful. Lonely can be great. I mean, people have written great songs when they're lonely, and it's, wonderful emotions. It's not always comfortable emotions. And if we separate the two things, feeling lonely and being alone, because they're not always the same thing. They don't always go together. But some people think if I'm alone, I'm going to feel lonely. Again, not that that's a bad thing, but they don't like feeling lonely, so they won't ever be alone. And I think that's kind of conflating them and setting yourself up for trouble, where you're telling yourself you can't ever be alone, as opposed to telling yourself, I don't like feeling lonely. If you don't like feeling lonely, you can talk to your therapist about it and work on what that's like and why.
Yeah, I think you might have just changed, really. I mean, I just had this huge epiphany from what you just said.
Ooh,
I'm in it.
Go.
So, I always talk about positive and negative emotions and how there's no such thing as a positive or negative emotion. And what you just said clicked. It's an uncomfortable emotion. It's a comfortable versus an uncomfortable emotion, not good or bad, not positive or negative. And it's okay to have uncomfortable emotions and to see what they're telling us or doing for us. But we're going to coin that. I'm going to steal that from you.
It's not original, but I'll take it as the one that helps you reach epiphany.
Thank you.
A big part of that is something that's uncomfortable. You and I have talked about this before. We've talked about it on the podcast, and that idea of uncomfortable is something we don't want to experience or feel, so we don't go there. If we can go there, we can find comfort.
Right.
We can be comforted. And then being uncomfortable becomes something comforting. And then it can become comfortable again.
Right.
And it's okay. When we're feeling uncomfortable, that feeling is, horrible. It's uncomfortable.
Right.
It will pass. It's part of the radical acceptance. You don't have to like it, but it is. And if you accept it, and you're vulnerable, you might find that there's people that will join you that aren't going to take it away and make it better, aren't just going to buy you ice cream or buy you clothes, but are going to sit there with you.
Yeah.
And then that's the comfort.
I love that. All of that.
Yeah. As I say this from my mountain retreat with nothing but my dog. Yo, Beckett, come here. Comfort daddy.
As I say that from my home with nothing but my pork butt cooking in the slow cooker.
Yeah.
We have each other.
How's your pork butt smelling?
Can't really smell it. But the best thing at the end was that Drew is actually very excited for the wedding and thinks it's going to be fun. And then signed off with well, what am I going to wear? We all want to know, dude. We all want to know.
I love that the session that you just heard, that everybody just heard, I haven't heard it since he and I did it a long time ago. Some of the earlier sessions, I was doing heavy editing, so I was listening to a lot of them.
Yeah.
I would listen to a session almost 4 times. And now I'm like, ooh, cool. I remember some parts. I don't remember other parts. I absolutely remember what he wore to the wedding. And I am not going to tell you at all.
No, but you just told us there is a wedding.
Well, come on. We know he's going. We know he wants to. It's wild. I mean, he missed the ceremony because the plane got delayed. That was crazy.
Up. You don't know that. I mean, you do know, but that's not a thing.
No, not a thing.
So yeah, I'm super excited for this whole thing to see how it plays out, and just seeing how much being in therapy during this and dissecting it with you and just processing it, how different would it have been if he just was like, I went to my brother's wedding. That's it.
But and I love that too. And a big part of what therapy is sometimes is the anticipation of something is where the anxiety lies, right?
Totally.
And as we work on that, then the actual thing comes and passes, nobody cares.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, it was no big deal.
Right.
We were talking about that for months. Yeah, it wasn't a big deal.
Yep, totally.
Wow. Okay. So it's, I think, a sign of doing good work in therapy when nothing really comes up after an event like that.
Yeah.
It's the lead in beforehand where everything came up. But I do remember we talk about the wedding. So you get to hear what he wore and how it goes. And yes, that is a spoiler. He does go to the wedding.
Fine. We'll take it. It's the only spoiler. You never give spoilers.
Unless I'm lying.
You jerk.
So welcome back to Drew, to our sessions, to season 2. If you want to go back and listen to some of the stuff from season 1, it's still up there on the website, yourmentalbreakdown.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm sure it's still there too.
Yep.
And tell your friends, spread the word. We'll be back at you next week. We're back on track now.
We're back. Here we
There
are.
it is.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.